All right, let's jump right in. We're going to tackle a really fascinating puzzle from the world of occupational therapy today. And it's this. Why do these highly trained professionals, people who spend years, literally years, mastering complex theories, seem to just forget it all once they start practicing?
I mean, it's a pretty wild question, right? When a therapist seems to forget the very foundation of what they learned, is that on them? Is it some kind of personal feeling? Or is there something bigger going on? Some hidden force in the system that's pushing them in a different direction? That's the mystery we're going to try to solve here.
And look, this isn't just some academic thought experiment. This is real. This quote right here, it's from a seasoned, experienced occupational therapist. They're straight up admitting that they mind dumped the core theories of their job, these things called frames of reference. So, what is happening?
Okay, so to figure this out, we first need to get on the same page about what's actually being forgotten. We've got to understand the blueprint of the whole profession, these frames of reference.
So think of a frame of reference, or an FOR for short, as an OT's professional GPS. It's a specific way of looking at a problem, a tool that helps them understand a client's challenges, and then map out the smartest, most logical way to help them. When you're in school, you're taught that this is everything. It is the absolute bedrock of how you make decisions.
And this is where you start to see the giant disconnect. Over on the left, you've got the classroom ideal, this perfect world of systematic, logical, holistic thinking, all guided by these beautiful theories. But then you look at the right. That's what a lot of therapists say really happens in the clinic. They're running on intuition, common sense, and a lot of quick trial and error. So how in the world do you get from one to the other?
Well, our first clue isn't really about forgetting at all. It's about what happens to the human brain when it gets really, really good at something. It's what you could call the expert's shortcut.
Here's how that shortcut gets built over time. See, when you're starting out, you have to consciously follow the rules, step by step. You use your fors. But after years and years of practice, those rules just become second nature. The core ideas are so baked into your brain that your decision-making gets super fast. It becomes intuitive, almost subconscious. The expert just knows what to do. It's incredibly efficient, but here's the catch. The reasoning behind it gets kind of fuzzy. They can't easily explain the theory behind their choices anymore. But that's only half the story.
Because, there's a much bigger, more powerful force at work here. It's not just about what's going on inside a therapist's head. It's about the system they have to work in every single day. And this is where we meet the real culprit, the reality of billing.
So it really boils down to this. What do the people who actually pay for the therapy, we're talking insurance companies, government programs, what do they really care about? What do they absolutely demand to see in the paperwork?
And this right here shows you the fundamental clash. On one side, you have the payers. They demand hard numbers, measurable progress, data you can stick in a spreadsheet, stuff that justifies the cost. But on the other side, you have the theories, the frames of reference. They provide the why, the rationale, the big picture view. The two sides are basically speaking completely different languages.
And let's be clear, the consequences of not speaking the payer's language are huge. This isn't just some philosophical debate. If a therapist's notes don't clearly show measurable, quantifiable progress, the funding gets cut. Period. The therapy stops. That is the cold, hard reality of the system. Now, a pressure that intense doesn't just change how you write your notes, it changes how you behave. It creates this powerful bias in the system, a bias for doing things that are easily measured, over things that might be more meaningful for the patient. Okay, to really get a feel for how this plays out, let's use an analogy. Let's step out of the clinic and into a really high-pressure restaurant kitchen.
So this chef, they've spent years learning complex culinary theory. That's their frames of reference. But now they're in this crazy busy kitchen, and the manager, who's basically our insurance company, has only one priority. Get plates out the door, fast and consistently. That's the demand for quantifiable progress. So what happens? The chef, with all their incredible skills, starts focusing on the fast, simple, measurable tasks, like slicing carrots perfectly every time, because that keeps the manager happy. And that complex, beautiful signature dish that represents their real craft, the holistic care, that gets pushed to the side.
And we see this exact same path of least resistance in OT. You've got a biomechanical approach that focuses on things like range of motion or strength. That's like slicing carrots. It is super easy to measure with a tool and get reimbursed for. Now compare that to a rehabilitative approach, which is all about helping a person adapt their life and their home. That's the signature dish. It's incredibly important, but it's a lot harder to capture in a single number for a billing form.
And this, right here, is the real danger. The whole system creates this powerful incentive to focus on these tiny, isolated movements, the angle of a joint, instead of the entire reason the profession exists in the first place, helping a person get back to doing the meaningful things that make up a life.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, this sounds like a problem with, American private insurance. But the truth is, this pressure for accountability, for measurable results, is a much, much bigger deal. It's a global thing. I mean, this demand for quantifiable proof is coming from all over the place. Sure, private insurance companies are a big one, but so are massive government programs like Medicare and Medicaid in the US, with their incredibly strict rules. Even the world of scientific research plays a part, demanding clean, simple data that can sometimes push those more complex, holistic approaches to the side.
The details might look a little different from place to place, but the basic driver is the same no matter where you are. A therapist in the US, in Namibia, in India, in Rwanda, they're all feeling the same global push in modern healthcare. Show us that what you're doing is cost-effective and has outcomes we can measure. It's a universal pressure.
All right, we've kind of gone through the whole mystery, from the expert's brain to the global healthcare system. So let's pull it all together. What's the big takeaway here?
Well, first, what looks like forgetting isn't really forgetting. It's a rational, logical adaptation to the system's demands. Second, that expert intuition is a real thing. It's super efficient, but it also makes it tough to explain the why. But the big one, the most powerful influence of all, is the system's relentless demand for measurable data. And what that does is create a powerful bias toward what's easy to count, which isn't always what counts the most for the person you're trying to help.
And that leaves us with a final, really important question to think about, one that goes way beyond just occupational therapy. It really touches every corner of modern medicine. When you build an entire system that rewards measuring the individual parts, how do you make sure you don't lose sight of protecting and treating the whole person?